Well, greetings, everybody. Good evening. It's Bob Rivers, and yes, I'm still here and attempting another podcast. Each time I try one of these, I go, will this be the last one that anyone's willing to do with me? On the phone with us now is my beloved son, Keith Rivers.
From the comfort of his evac vehicle, ready to get the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah. Hey, Dad.
How you doing, Keith?
Hey, Andrew. Hey, Spike.
Are you living on a tent like everyone else in LA right now, or what's going on?
No, thankfully we're safe.
Yeah. So the rest of the intro for Keith is, first off, he's brilliant. He is one of the most incredible filmmakers I've ever seen, and everyone who looks at his work is blown away by it. And he has, and his family have managed to live in one of the most beautiful places in the entire world, best climate in the world. And every time I go and visit there, I go, well, I can't afford to live here. It's just like, it's crazy. But there's something about it. Like, he'll go out on a Saturday and bump into Jay Leno or the Kardashians or, and he has some friends who are, I won't name drop for him, that are very, very big when you go to the movie theater today. And so he's living this LA lifestyle in a beautiful spot. And yet once a year, something threatens with fire. And it seems like more and more homes are being destroyed every year, and it's getting worse and worse. Climate change, I don't know, just bad management. You had a theory that, remember I told you Keith would like this one. What was your theory, Spike? It had to do with the governor. You have a nickname for the governor.
No, what I was saying was, I asked Keith, I've been thinking about you nonstop since this story broke. I'm glad you and your family are safe. I know your home's not quite safe yet. At any change of wind direction, you guys could lose everything, which is heartbreaking. But I said, everybody knows somebody. My daughter's girlfriend's family was evac, didn't lose their house, but they were evac. I said, everybody knows somebody that's called 6 Degrees of Gavin Newsom, that everybody knows somebody who's been either lost everything or is at risk of losing everything. Yeah. So are you guys, you're out of your house?
Yeah, we're still evacuated. We're going on, I think we're going on a week and a half, 2 weeks here.
But you haven't been allowed to get back in, right? To check on things.
I snuck in once. That's a fun story.
You're a looter. Congratulations, officially.
Yes. I would have vouched for him, but
we had a really interesting evacuation. The day before our house was evacuated, or our neighborhood was evacuated, we were supposed to have a pretty large film shoot there. They were renting out our house, and with a big name celebrity was going to show up and film, and they were teetering on, we get red flag warnings this time of year every year. Red flag warnings mean high winds, Santa Anas. They happen every winter. They blow through the hills. Usually, though, we have rainfall by December. And this year, we haven't seen a raindrop in 6 months. Right. So last year, by the way, for the record, not that anyone's keeping track of climate change or anything, we had more rainfall than Seattle. So, but we have it in a shorter condensed period of time, and it
floods
is like dinosaur raindrops. It's, it's Jurassic Park raindrops. So, and the year before we had a lot of rain too. So we have had 2 years of wild sagebrush growth, flourishing plants and animal life and everything just growing in our mountains. We live in between Malibu and Calabasas, in the middle of the mountains. We have a 400 home community out there. So a month ago, the fires burned, and they burned 2 ridges from our neighborhood. And aircraft put it out. They fought it for 3 or 4 days. We were evacuated for that time. When we came home from the evacuations, we were staying up till 2 or 3 in the morning, watching the fires burn on the ridgeline. I was getting up to vantage point, taking pictures, analyzing from the hour before. It was kind of like watching Dogecoin go up and down in stock price. It was just 1 minute was up, next minute's down, the next minute's up.
Didn't you lose a drone trying to keep track of it too?
I can't talk about that.
You're not supposed to get drones near the official
one.
Yeah. Well, there were more than one, and Keith is.
Yeah.
Keith is buddies with those guys.
He's not the one who hit the plane. That was months ago.
This was my own idiotic thinking. Was, lift the drone up high enough in the air where I can at least see the fires without having to like get in the car, get out of the evacuation zone, so that way I'm not trapped back in from the neighborhood.
Protect your house. Yeah.
And so I lifted the drone up in the air, and some sort of force field just made it smash to the ground immediately. And yeah, I lost my drone. And but that is the least important news of all.
That's a difficulty that it's interesting to note that real pilots, real human beings are facing every day when they go up in those crafts to drop that fire retardant. That kind of wind shear that, took care of the drone real easily is also a danger to the people. And that's why they couldn't go up for those 2 days.
Right.
I don't know if it was a wind shear. It might have been an air traffic control force field that would not allow drones to fly in the vicinity of where these helicopters were dropping. Oh. I didn't think I was anywhere near the site of that. And I lifted it up with, while looking super cautiously. Obviously, my father used to be a pilot, and we have several pilots that work for Alaska in our neighborhood, and just kind of super aware of, don't fly the drone into people who are fighting fires.
You're a conscientious guy. Yeah, of course.
Not everybody had that common sense on the last fire. And you also, you kind of don't know what the rules are. It was naive at the time, and yeah, it was crazy. But I learned my lesson.
What else did you learn though? Could you see the fires or?
Yeah, I got up to the point, I lifted it up about 45, 50 feet in the air. It gave me a blinking warning on the drone, and then it just turned straight down without my control and then crashed. And then at that time, it was in the woods. We live in the woods, so it's gone. I looked for it.
Should we do a plug for DJI? They gave you a good deal on a new drone.
They did. I actually sent them my
LA wildfires and help me out. Yeah, that's good.
No, they actually gave me a new one for half off, and it was not a big deal.
No,
but
it's cool though. All right, so but I think the coolest thing that you did, and if it's okay to talk about it, let me know. If it's not, we can edit it out. But Keith befriended the firefighters who were looking after his neighborhood. Can you tell a little of that story?
He baked them cookies?
Yeah, I think it's just you try to figure out ways that you can help without stepping in the way. And I had gone to a wedding earlier this summer, and the husband of the bride that we've known and grown up with. I've known the bride since she was probably 7 years old, since she was Georgia's age. Got married to a firefighter out of San Diego, and he was transported up to Malibu to fight the fires, the Franklin fire, which was a month ago. And that was a 2,200 acre burn. It destroyed 7 houses, one of them being our best friend's house. And that was the one that got two ridges away in our in Malibu Canyon in our ridgeline. And so that was kind of the scariest thing we'd ever gone through. 7 structures burning is heartbreaking. It's just it really the whole neighborhood, the whole community was just in prayer. They're in a lost state. They're just compassionate, and everybody kind of came together. There was donations, there was food drives, there was laundry being done for the families. And everybody, it was amazing how everybody came together for these 7 homes.
Came out of people in this situation.
And I had contact with that firefighter. We were texting, and I was, just trying to figure out what we could do. And, these guys are sitting there at checkpoints, doing arson watch, and they're not able to go anywhere. So it was cool. We just went and got Jack in the Box, and we got energy drinks, and we got cookies, and we got pizza, and I like bought up a ton of food and just drove to all the checkpoints and just like, hey man, drop, take this. They're, oh no, I can't. I'm not allowed to. No, come on, just take the food. And they're like, oh, thank you so much, man. I got to be here till 6 a.m. So that was on the last month. Just put it in perspective. So 7 homes, 2,200 acres, burning up through the whole entire canyon was the most devastating thing I'd ever seen. Close to our home, and our home almost burned down last month. And then this fire, we evacuated. We went up to Montecito for 2 days, stayed in a hotel. Every day we're waking up and wondering if our home's gone. We're checking about 1,000 text messages a day. You're completely surrendered at that point from all anxiety and nervousness and fear and trepidation, all of that. You're just kind of numb, and it's just a constant communication on your phone, trying to get the facts. Nothing is clear. No one knows anything. And the fires are just devastating the land. We don't even know how much acreage had burned at that point. And so after day 2, we decided to drive home. I bought some propane tanks. We brought some electrical cords in, and I get to one of the checkpoints and, sort of told the police, hey, I need to get in there to drop off these supplies to these firefighters, which was sort of true because they weren't the official firefighters. They were the
official
neighborhood
supplies either. They were supplies.
Yeah,
there were firefighters. They were like, yes.
Yeah, totally. They were like the neighborhood firefighters that were in our neighborhood, not evacuating. They were going to be the ones that would, if it came to the front line, they were going to be protecting the Alamo. And so the police officer laughed at me, and he's like, "You're not getting in here." And I said, "No, I'm meeting with this name and that name, and these people are expecting these supplies. Here's my ID." And he's like, "Nope, sorry, pal. Go away." And I started thinking for a second, and I'm with my kids in the car, and I'm like, "Hey, I need a piece of medical equipment. It's a breathing tool for my daughter's asthma. So I need to go pick that up right now." And he just looked at me like, ding, 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 and he just didn't want to let me in. So he just turned his back and he looked away, and I just drove forward.
Wow, that is the secret password. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the secret password. Then what happened was I get into the neighborhood and I see the flames, and the flames are on the ridge line, and they're 25 feet tall, at least from what I can tell. And I'm comparing by looking at structures, 2-story structures, and going, okay, that's about 20 to 25 feet. So maybe these are about a little bit bigger flames than the houses. That's really big. Those are big flames, and nobody's putting them out. There's no firefighters there. There's no air control, and there's 400 homes in our neighborhood. So I go to my house and I just start wetting everything down. And then a couple firefighters come over, they're neighborhood firefighters. I give them the supplies that I brought in, the propane tanks, keep their generators running, and the electrical plugs, like run lines to different houses to connect. So people can at least have their Wi-Fi on with their generators, can power their Wi-Fi, and they can at least communicate and know what's going on.
Right.
And then they start telling me to fill up my bathtubs and my sinks with water, and fill up my garbage cans with water, and put them all around the house. Because if firefighters are running out of, and they were running out of, and the fire hydrants were empty at the top of our ridge line. So these guys are relying on water tanks, and when water tanks run out, they need new ones to come in. And if they don't have water to put out fire, then they're using natural resources or whatever you have around your property too. So I just started putting every single bucket I could find, anything that would hold water I could find, dousing my roof, dousing the eaves, dousing the chimney, dousing the nearby foliage around. And it's so dry that 10 minutes after dousing out one area, the other area that I doused out is already dry. And so I start, after about an hour of this, I'm like, this is completely useless. Like this is going to do nothing. And I start realizing this is a complete waste of time. And what are you doing? And kind of beating myself up about it. And Leanne's packing her wedding dress and her photo albums, and we grab our passports, and kids get to pick out a couple of stuffed animals. And, you're really like packing as if you're never going to see your house again.
By the way, it's a really awesome wedding dress. Just
can you tell the story about what Georgia took also?
Georgia took her 2 trophies from soccer. And we just thought that was so special.
She left a guitar.
Those were,
she left
expensive
anything
stuff.
Yeah. But the fact that she chose memories over
possessions,
value, valued possessions, is just kind of testament to where her heart is. And we just thought that was really sweet. And yeah, so Hazel did the same thing. She collected her like tooth fairy saver. She has like a little wooden, and then a couple of pictures of her friends. And she grabbed all of the memory books that we made. Each Christmas, we make a little memory book. You sort of like upload your photos to Shutterfly and it creates a book out of it. So she grabbed all those books. Things like that.
The other thing that, and Keith and I have talked a little bit each night, the other thing that I don't think you see on TV, like this personal story, that's pretty amazing, is how when you go through something like this as a family, it brings you closer together. But it also, and I've noticed, Keith is focused on his neighbors and his friends and all the other people who are suffering and looking for ways to help. And that's, again, that's what it feels like. We need more of that in our society. And I'm sure there's nothing to celebrate about this tragedy, but I think that, well, you tell me how it's changed your perception of your surroundings and what matters more or less than it used to.
Well, I think growing up with a father on the radio, you sort of look at what the media is doing, and then you become a contrarian to that. I think a lot of people right now are trying to point a finger, and they're trying to create blame, and they're trying to create more fear, more doubt. And they're trying to blame politics, and they're trying to blame looters, and they're trying to blame weather conditions, and people want answers. And I get that. And I get where that is coming from, and all of it's valid. All of it's
coming from Spike. I'm just teasing you.
And actually it is a valid feeling.
Yeah.
It's actually a good feeling for us to all go through
and be critical
and analyze. But I'm a bit of a contrarian in the sense of like, well, what is the thing that you actually can do that is helpful? And that's taking care of your family, protecting your community, taking care of the firefighters, thanking the firefighters, thanking everybody who actually is paying attention to this, anybody who's donating, anybody who's lost a home, anybody who's evacuated still, anybody who can't pay their electric bill this month, anybody who's worried about their working, whether or not film crews are going to be able to work in Los Angeles. I mean, we've had so many years where COVID was 2 years of film crews not being able to work. Then it was a year of strikes with SAG and a year of strikes with the DGA and Producers Guilds. And now it's fires. And so a lot of people are feeling like there's just this mass exodus leaving Hollywood. There's not. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of film crews that want to work. They want to make money. They are good, talented people. They are, they're there to make great stories, and they're hardworking people too. And there are grips and gaffers that have lost all of their lights and their C-stands and their camera gear that's been burned up in the fires. And that doesn't just get replaced right away. They have to go through insurance claims, and that takes years. So for them to get their equipment to be able to work again is just a massive loss. And so I think it's really just worth noting, instead of pointing fingers and blaming and complaining about what isn't getting done, it is an individual basis to choose how you can do your part and help people on a one-to-one level. And I think if everybody did that versus complaining, there would be a lot more getting done. For example, Japan donating $2 million today was just triumphant and incredible for a country to come together like that. And there is tons of support in the Boys and Girls Club and their donations. My church is donating, everything from razor blades to deodorant to chapstick to food supplies to clothing. And they're setting up, deposit centers where you can ship in goods or you can drop off goods and all those things. We've never been through a disaster like this before. I'm 41 years old. My kids are 10 and 7. My wife and my wife's 40.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Don't say it. Yeah.
42.
Anybody have been married longer than you have, don't say it.
And so we, thank you, saved me. You never think a disaster like this is going to happen to you. You see it around the world. You see the hurricanes in New Orleans, and you see
the wars around the world that we are involved in, but are not directly fighting. Yes,
right.
If we never had any media, and I just showed you a picture, and I said a bomb just dropped in Palisades, and it blew up the whole neighborhood, the size of Manhattan, you would believe me, because it's that devastating. Yeah. It is the same thing. And there are less deaths, thank God, but there's still a lot of death, and they're still uncovering dead bodies. And and we're still not allowed back in. So it's definitely not just a crazy fire incident that we would quickly recover from. It's it could be 10 years before this area is ever restored.
It'll be an uneven recovery too. Some people will recover faster. Some people maybe decades, right? It just depends on where they are, what happens. And we don't know yet what's going to happen. There'll probably be a lot of debating and arguing and blaming and all of that stuff that's usually a part of government and people with who control the power of the dough and the purse. But
I think it's all necessary. It is necessary to be angry, and it is necessary to complain. I don't think anything gets done without those things. But alongside the complaining and the anger and all of the finger pointing should be action of, all right, I'm complaining, but I'm also doing this, and I'm also taking part. I'm also helping. If people equally complain as much as they donate, then that would be an incredible result.
It would be a complaint, a fee. Every time you complain, you got to put something in there.
For every minute you complain, you got to do a minute community service. Equal time community service to bitching. I got to tell you, I've seen so much footage of community rallying, Keith, to your point. I was watching Jimmy Kimmel's monologue a couple nights ago, and they had like a 3-minute montage of just nonstop coverage of community rallying, donations, volunteerism. If anything, I mean, rebuilding, of course, is paramount. This is an important part of who America is, but the community that's going to come together to do that is going to really show us who we really are.
And that's what we need to see more of. The fact that Jimmy Kimmel is showing that is incredible. We need the community to come together. We need people from the outside of the community to have compassion and understand and empathy, because it affects everybody. I think we're all connected together as a species. And when you can share stories of empathy and you can sensationalize that versus fear and negativity and politics. I mean, we should be old enough now to know the results of how much we complain about politics, and does that actually work, and does it actually bring us closer together? It doesn't graft people together. We're not, we have seen that over the last 8 years of all the political feuds and the siding and just the polar opposite natures. It doesn't create more peace. It doesn't create more unity. It doesn't create more connection. I just
want to know whose statue I need to tear down to fix all this.
Yeah. I think if we all tear down our own statues on Instagram of who we are on social media, then that might be a good start.
Spike, you see why I love both of my sons.
No, they're great young men. They're great men. I can't even call them young men anymore. Sorry, guys. You aged out of young men. You're great men.
I'm still young. I'm still young. No.
Hold on. You gotta take a look at Andrew with spectacles. I mean,
I like it.
And let me flatter myself by saying, as Bob has raised you guys to be who you are today, I can honestly tell you that Bob raised me to a degree. I feel very guilty in saying I got to spend more of your time with your dad than you did of the 25 years we lived together. And
I feel more guilt than all of you combined. So thank you for that. That's very nice. I did work
Spike,
hard.
You were amazing, guys. I remember when I was 7 years old, you doing voice impersonations outside of our house in between recording sessions for Bob's Garage and Twisted Tunes and all that. And I also remember moments where we shared 14-hour, 15-hour plane flights across the world to Senegal to help kids in foreign countries in Africa with World Vision. So, I've seen you kind of like a big brother.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate that. I feel the same.
One of the worst babysitters we've had, but a good man.
Hey, man, your first stripper. Who else do you want to do that for you? Sorry, Bob.
All right. Well, this is beautiful, and probably where we should end it. I'm just very blessed and grateful. And again, I've been hearing Keith. Let's say hi to Lisa.
Come here. He was just talking sweet about how Bob raised all three of these delinquents, and
this person raised you too, actually.
Yeah, no kidding.
She did the hard work. Yeah,
she actually raised me first.
Amen.
A little.
All right, I'll let you guys finish up.
Your work is not finished, dear. Thank you. Love you. That giraffe signifies my mascot. I wanted to have. I wanted
the giraffe in the corner says it's time to wrap it up.
I wanted to have an emotional support animal that didn't shit or poop anywhere in the house, and no box needed, and that had the largest esophagus of all living mammals. Did you know that about the giraffe? He makes me smile. Plus, the look on his face is priceless. He's looking at all of us going like, yeah, all right.
Well, if you want to foster a real animal, they're from the LA fires that we just had.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
If there's any giraffes,
there are a lot of animals.
Yeah.
No giraffes, unfortunately.
No. Wow. Well, Keith, your insights have given me both sadness and happiness to realize what it's like for real people on the ground. And it's been, you say you teach your children, but your children teach you. And, lately with all I've been going through, to have Keith and Andrew as really, they're my mentors now. If I want a sense of what it's like to be in this world at an age where you still matter a little bit, then, I get from both of these guys really awesome empathy and love and kindness. And they're out there spreading it in each of their own individual ways. So I'm blessed for that. Thank you guys for coming on. Thank you, Keith, for sharing that very personal story.
I'm proud of you too, because I don't know if I would be as mature as you in the same situation. I'd be screaming my head off at everybody. So that's admirable. And the fact that you're so calm and leading your family and protecting them is amazing.
And yet we know every night when I go to bed worried about your house, I look at the app that shows the fire boundary. And the first thing I do in the morning is look at that app and see that it hasn't moved closer to your house. That's, a kind of fear. And I guess we'll close with this because it might give Spike a chance to be funny, which I haven't given him a whole lot of that today, and I apologize.
My DTS kicked in. I apologize.
Okay. When we were kids, and I think this is all 50s dads did this, we were programmed as kids to be frightened of our house burning down. My dad, everything, you left the burner on. You could burn down the house, and he would literally describe families who had their house burned down and they were killed, or they had no, and he was like, they hadn't figured out gentle parenting yet, but it was that important. And so I always had a built-in fear of my house burning down. And I sort of transferred it to empathetic feelings for you. But Spike has the unique experience in our little group here of having actually burned his parents' house down. And does this LA fire, does that connect with your youth and what happened there in any way? Or is that just you were smoking too much and listening to too much Blue Oyster Cult?
I was nowhere near California, and I resent the implication that this is my fault. No, you know what? I can tell you what losing everything feels like. I know firsthand what losing everything feels like, and I wouldn't begin to put it up against the stress that Keith and his family and Keith's community feels, knowing that thing is hanging over your head, for weeks on end, and annually. That's the price we pay for the world we live in today. And the only way to mitigate that constant fear, as you call it, anxiety of it, is what Keith's doing, is to realize what really freaking matters in this world, and what you can do, and what you should be doing. What makes a difference is prioritizing the people in your life and the people, not just family, but community, and working to make it right.
And you guys, both worked into that, the balance of, yes, do you need to get angry and post vicious memes? Of course you need to post vicious memes.
If you don't keep it in, you'll blow up.
But that isn't, if you think you did something good for the world, that isn't it. And Keith, thanks for putting that in such great perspective. Yeah, this has been a pop-up special podcast. We're going to do these as it feels good to do them.
I hope I haven't worn out my welcome. Please have me back. I miss all you guys, and I love doing this.
Well, I'm not ruling out military intervention, but no, you're my brother. All right, you guys, thank you so much. This is Bob Rivers signing off again. Send us your thoughts, and I want to say this entire podcast was brought to you by Bob and Lisa's Maple Syrup, which can only be purchased at bobrivers.blog. And you notice I'm not pushing it hard. I mention it once at the end of the show. That's the way I feel. That won't sell any.
It's a good flame retardant.
It's a good.
I would fire sale.
I would do better selling my prescription drugs, but I'm all out at the moment.